So, as of about 16 minutes ago, Avengers Endgame has earned more than the total GDP of Europe for the last 50 years.
Oh
It is.
my goodness!
It's a machine.
It is, and everything's gotten out of the way
Yeah.
to let it do what it's going to do. I can't imagine what's the other big. Is there another big? What's the other big movie for the summer? The other big summer blockbuster.
Is there one?
Is there anything, or is it just simply going to take up all the air in the room for the rest of the year?
I mean, Godzilla is coming out end of May. There's the new Men in Black, which is kind of weird because it cast Thor and Valkyrie.
Yeah.
Does anyone realize that the new Men in Black have been borrowed from the last Thor movie, both of them?
That's
kind of weird.
That's so strange.
I'm happy for Tessa Thompson though.
Yeah.
What a great new
She's having
career.
a great run.
But yeah, that's a little weird. That comes out in June. Toy Story in late June. And then Spider-Man Far From Home is the 4th of July weekend. But and they're apparently saying that the official, and I haven't been able to figure out how this all breaks because we're now at the end of phase 3 of the MCU, right? It was phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. I don't really understand what distinguishes the phases. Feige does. But they're saying that Spider-Man Far From Home is technically the last film of Phase 3, not Endgame.
Far From Home takes place after the events of Endgame?
Yes. So not to give away any spoilers, but yes, apparently that's the thing is that the new Spider-Man film is post Endgame. So it'll be interesting to see how that all shakes out because people better see Endgame before everyone's going to have seen Endgame by then.
Because the other movies from the from the Marvel Cinematic Universes will be filling in holes.
Yeah.
So Natasha's going to have a movie. So a lot of hole filling is going to be going on here.
Yeah.
So okay,
But anyway, I don't really need to see much else coming out there. I mean, there are some kind of semi-Oscar baity things. There's Rocket Man, the Elton John thing, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood from Tarantino. But otherwise, I think it's pretty much Avengers. Toy Story 4. Well, is that going to do anything? Are we Toy Storied out?
I'm Toy Storied out, and ironically, the last one was the best one.
Yeah.
And I don't want it to be. You know what I'm saying? I love that Toy Story 3 is my favorite Toy Story movie, actually.
Yeah.
And I don't want another Toy Story movie. I want this to be the last one.
I'm looking at these. I mean, apart from Rocket Man and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, it's all just tentpole sequels. Fast and Furious film comes out in August. I don't know if people still want that. Spider-Man, I think, will get it'll get a little pickup from Avengers, obviously. Toy Story 4, we'll see. That has to be really good. Men in Black, I don't know if there's appetite for another Men in Black movie. There certainly wasn't for another Ghostbusters.
No.
I don't know, man. That's going to be interesting.
You got that Tolkien film coming out.
Dark Phoenix, which is another X-Men thing. That's June 7th. I think we're all kind of X-Men'd out right now, too.
Well, there's John Wick 3. That's still May.
Yeah. I'm on radio. I'm on radio that day, too. But the John Wick films have a very specific audience.
Yeah.
It's not they've never been like they haven't.
They're not big blockbusters.
They're not big blockbusters.
Successful.
They're successful, but they're also successful because they don't cost very much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't. That's interesting. I don't know. I mean, there's some other stuff that would be huge in any other year. Like if this were 1995, a summer with a Men in Black film, a Toy Story film, and a Godzilla film, that would be huge in 1995.
Yeah.
But in 2019, I don't know if that's really huge.
I'm looking here and I see that film it seems like we talked about this film last year. All Is True, the Branagh Shakespeare film. I guess the wide release is going to be in the next couple of weeks of that.
Yeah.
So a Branagh film.
They finally pushed that out. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, anyway. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be. I mean, there's another Child's Play movie coming out at the end of June. Who cares, really? That doesn't make any sense. New Danny Boyle film end of June, but those are never blockbusters.
No.
That's kind of, arty Oscar-y. Yeah, maybe Lion King. There you go.
Lion King.
Lion King's going to be huge. Lion King's going to be huge. That's in July. So I don't see anything really that could be a significant threat until Lion King. So that's always kind of the question, right? how long, how much, because Avatar made so much money because everything got out of its way. And it was a holiday release end of the year, and January just kind of opened up like the Red Sea in front of it. And it had about 4 or 5 straight weeks where it could just there was no competition. It was just clear sailing. Took up all the theaters. And it seems like Avengers may kind of be in that same position for at least the next 3 to 4 weeks. I don't see any. It's going to have 3 or 4 really solid weeks, and it's still going to be doing hundreds of millions of dollars, and right into the end of May, early June.
Well, all you got is a little bit of counter programming this week. The Long Shot comedy, Ugly Dolls. It's something for the kids. The Intruder, the little sort of thriller movie. But everything is counter programming. Nothing is in the lane of Endgame at all.
No, it's not. Nope. It's already made way more than $1 billion. We're somewhere close to $1.5 billion, $2 billion, I think, as of right now. I mean, I'm not even tracking it on a daily basis anymore. I'm just I'll wait and see where it is in a few weeks. But
you say it's on a path to 3.
It's on a path to 3 for sure, and it's going to be the biggest movie of all time. It's but there's the thing too, is that the anticipation factor has been built up over 10 years and 22 movies, right? And can that ever be replicated again? The Lord of the Rings, that was built up over several years and 3 movies. Star Wars is built up over
40 years.
40 years.
But in a truncated sort of way.
Yeah.
And the movies don't always sort of like go together, and we even have to pretend like one doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not the same thing. Not the same thing. Yeah. What else has done that? Nothing really. Certainly not over that long period of time. That's for sure.
But it's a risk too, because if you build up anticipation.
Do you count the Bond movies? Do you count the Bond movies?
Not really, because they're standalone. That's like a TV series. You come back every week expecting kind of more of the same. Like when I'm watching Magnum PI, I don't expect every week to be better than the last one, but I expect it to be in the pocket, right? In the Bond film, it's in the pocket, and it's like Doctor Who, right? You switch it up every once in a while, and it keeps it fresh,
and just keep going.
But this is really building up anticipation, building towards something. And I'm not sure that
with the same group of human actors, generally speaking. I mean, not always, but mostly.
But that's a big risk. You take 10 years and 22 films, and you build up towards something, and that something winds up sucking. You're dead.
Yeah. Well,
it's a risk.
Ask Mr. Lucas.
Yeah.
He committed suicide twice in that series.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, so it finally just I'm going to sell the whole damn company.
Jar Jar Binks.
And just get the hell out of there.
Still his favorite character, Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah.
My gosh, what's he thinking? Anyway, all right. Well, let's dive into it. A ton of anime I got to get through here. Anime is really kind of piled up. It was just a big season for anime the last several months, and it's taken a while to burn through a lot of it. So let me try to get through some of this as quickly as possible. For those of you who are big anime fans, put some of this stuff on your radar. From Funimation and Sentai and Made in Japan, all the usual labels. A lot of really interesting stuff. Twin Star Exorcists from Funimation. This is volume 4 of this particular series. Really, really top-notch animation and concept design. Really, really great. And this, of course, is kind of a supernatural battle of good and evil thing. If you haven't been following this from the beginning, all of the stuff that all of the supernatural occultish underlayment of this, all of the backstory will make absolutely no sense to you, unless you want to go onto Wikipedia and just kind of research it as much as you can. But this is the kind of thing you really sort of have to follow from the very, very beginning, and but it's kind of worth it. It's really, really beautifully done. Twin Star Exorcists. That is the 4th volume. Doreiku, the animation. So I don't really know to whom I should recommend this. Tim, what does that artwork tell you?
Oh, bondage meets I don't even know what.
Yeah. So this is anime that clearly lets you know right up front from the image that they put on the case that this is not for children.
No.
This is a woman in
That's
some
not for most adults.
No, it's not. It's a woman in lingerie with a chain and a lock around her neck, a collar and a chain, a ball gag, and a blindfold.
Yeah.
So that says you better know what you're getting into. And in fact, it's not really S&M anime per se, but that's a part of it. And so it really pushes the envelopes. This gets into I don't know how I can not give this away. It's a specific invention that's involved here, the SCM, and it's a game playing controlling invention, and it's used in nefarious ways. And I guess Saw might be kind of a thing. There is a bit of a tech aspect to it, but anyway, it's not for everybody. Doreiku, Doreiku, the animations. It's a tough sit. Kankale, Fleet Girls Collection, the complete series. Of all the schoolgirlish things, the fetishistic schoolgirl things, this is this one's based on a game, and I guess there's a thing to this. This is about schoolgirls who are like the reincarnated spirits of Japanese warships. Does that even make sense?
No. Okay.
Yeah. That's the idea. This was a game apparently, and I guess a successful game in Japan. I don't really understand what thrill people get out of saying that girl's a destroyer, that girl's a battleship. Kind of weird, but there it is. That's basically what's going on. Anyway, so it has a little bit of a fetishy superhero aspect to it. I'm not going to judge. Divine Gate, the complete series, episodes 1 through 12. This is the Essentials volume. Divine Gate has some fun stuff in it. I've seen a few episodes of this. It gets old a little bit. There's kind of an Avengery thing to it. It's like about a Stargate kind of a thing, and it bestows on you kind of a chosen power, a chosen calling. Maybe that's the best way to put it. So anyway, the people who are chosen are called adapters, and they're given these kind of X-Men like abilities. And then there's like this international organization, kind of like a special UN thing that sort of has to try to bring them in. Anyway, there's a whole myth to it and a whole mystique. And it's interesting, but it does. I don't know that there's enough story there to really sustain episode after episode. But it's worth checking out. Sayuki Complete Collection. One of the coolest. This is all 50 episodes from the Sayuki series. This is some of the coolest anime I've seen in a long time on the feudal front of the things that deal with. Not necessarily specifically feudal Japan, but things that have the feudal style. And this is about kind of a renegade group of outlaws who are supposed to save mankind from demonkind. There you go. That's probably the best way to put it. Anyway, it's an interesting kind of dark hero collection. And some really, really good fighting in it, and it's some good animation, but it sort of brings the feudal into the present day, and it's a little bit gory and bloody, but I still enjoyed it. Also from the Essentials line, Star Miyu Season 1. This is from Funimation. Skews a little bit older in terms of all of the kind of schoolgirl stuff and the schoolboy stuff. This takes place in a kind of like a collegiate academy. And it's really pretty much just school politics. Not that terribly interesting. Let's see. Part 1 of Katana Maidens. These are just butt-kicking young girls. They got their swords and they got their attitude. And it's really, really fun. This comes with a few little extra things, but otherwise it's very fetishistic. But I like it. It's just girls with swords protecting the world. I'm all about it. It's cool. Right? Girls and swords. Can't get enough. Armored Trooper Votoms TV collection. This is from Made in Japan. This is pretty straightforward mecha stuff. If you're big on mecha, Votoms stands for Vertical One-Man Tank for Offense and Maneuvers, and it's this. It's in the vein with Gundam and Transformers and all that kind of stuff. It's Votoms. I mean, if you like if you've seen the design of the Votoms, it's cool, but it doesn't really go much beyond that. Legend of the Galactic Heroes. Also very, very well done. This is interstellar war stuff. I prefer something that I'm going to be talking about here momentarily. But as far as the Star Wars type stuff, the anime that sort of emulates intergalactic wars and empires, this is one of the better ones that I've seen in a while. This is 12 uncut episodes of Legend of the Galactic Heroes. This is relatively new, but I think in a vein where they can't really invent much new that Star Wars and Battlestar Galactica and all these things haven't already done, they kind of find something that's sort of new in the pocket. So it's not bad. Let's see. Let me go here. Well, this is the other one that I was going to recommend instead, which is the reboot of Star Blazers. Star Blazers 2202, and we've now moved on to another volume of this volume. Part 1. I'm going to be honest with it. So it's part 1, episodes 1 through 13, and this includes an art book and a space for the next volume. The reboot of Star Blazers, and this is really welcome because Space Cruiser Yamato, Star Blazers, however you know it, was one of the seminal anime odysseys of my growing up, and it was Star Wars before there was Star Wars. It was just absolutely wonderful. And what they've done is they did a live action Space Cruiser Yamato film a few years ago, which was not great, but it was still kind of promising. And they took that as an impetus and said, you know what, maybe we can't move into the live action world, but maybe we can reboot it in anime. And what a great thing they did. The animation is better. The voice characterizations are stronger. Everything about it is better. The writing is stronger, but they're not letting go of what made it unique originally. They're keeping the essential element of it, and it's wonderful. New interstellar threats, new technologies. It's a really wonderful reboot, and I think it's great. So stick with the new Star Blazers. Also, Code Geass, Lelouch of the Rebellion. This is a movie trilogy in a steelbook. The Code Geass thing is also very mythically mecha. It all takes place in the year 2017 of the Imperial calendar, which I have no idea how that necessarily corresponds to our calendar. But that's an interesting world to explore. The steelbook is strictly for fans. DVD only, also from Made in Japan, is Monochrome Factor, the complete collection. Monochrome Factor has a cool kind of gothic, noirish, steampunky signature to it. And this is all about working between the spirit world, the shadow world, and our world, kind of a ghost hunter concept. It's pretty well done, a little hard to follow in some regards. But one of the more interesting recent franchises they've created. Gangsta, the complete series, we've talked about a little bit. This takes its cue mostly from a lot of American genres, a lot of American crime genres, gangster genres, gangster sagas, organized crime sagas, and it's a mafia battle thing, but it's done anime style. Very stylish, very interesting, pretty solid. Also from Funimation. Pandora in the Crimson Shell, Ghost Urn. This skews very young. This is just big-headed, big-eyed little kids with palatable action. It's kind of like Ghost in the Shell for kids, if that's even possible. All kinds of cyborg stuff going on here, but skewing very, very young. Like this cute girl who's, she's a cute girl, but she's also a cyborg, right? And who needs that in your life? Anyway, so that is Pandora in the Crimson Shell. Probably good for 9, 10 should be old enough for that. Kino's Journey complete collection. Kino's Journey has a certain following in the anime world. It's Kino and Hermes on their little. I guess that we could call this like anime Easy Rider. Maybe is a way of putting it. Except easy with a little bit of a tech mystical quality to it. But it's road trip and it's an adventure and the motorcycle is super cool. It's like, I don't know, Easy Rider meets Speed Buggy on a Japanese anime motorcycle. There you go. That makes no sense whatsoever.
You got a few more of those?
Yeah, let me just hit a couple more, and then I'll save the others until the end of the show, so we don't bore people stiff. Here we go. This is cool. This is also from the Essential line of Funimation. Rampo Kitan, Game of Laplace. So what's going on here? This is if you're familiar with Edogawa Rampo, the famous Japanese author. They made a live action movie about 25 years ago, maybe 20, maybe longer, called Rampo: The Mystery of Rampo, which I absolutely adored. Which is like a fantasia based on his books in which he is a character. His name was not Edogawa Rampo. That's like the Japanese pronunciation of Edgar Allan Poe. That's how he assumed the name. But a legendary writer in Japanese literature. And they made this really cool anime series called Rampo Kitan, Game of Laplace, which is inspired by his works. And it's this really interesting noirish, fantasy-inspired detective story that takes all kinds of fascinating chances and plays with visual symbolism and what is and isn't real. And much like the movie and his books as well. And it wraps it all around this kind of traditional Japanese school politic where there's a high school detective and the works of Rampo kind of become part of his life. Anyway, it's really quite interesting, very, very daring, and takes a lot of really interesting chances. Also has commentary on one of the episodes and promos and a bunch of other interesting things. It's a really interesting show worth checking out. Rampo Kitan, Game of Laplace. All right. Let's do new movies.
Well, a couple over here anyway. This is a very interesting little French film that I saw in 2018 that was extremely disturbing and particularly appropriate in this day and age. Permanent Green Light. It's about a little boy, and not a little boy, but a young man in northern France who decides that he's going to blow himself up. Now, he isn't engaged in any sort of a political act or religious act or anything like that. The movie itself has to do with teenage angst and all that kind of stuff. But what he's interested in is the way society reacts to these things when they happen in the world, the way people behave, and he's wondering how people are going to behave once they know a person is going to do it. And what the movie, this very uncomfortable movie about, is we follow him as he tells and engages, and people come to understand that he is in fact going to do this thing. Very disturbing, powerful little movie. John Waters put it on his top 10 lists of films of 2018. Bonus features include interview with the filmmakers, brothers Dennis and Zach. Well, not brothers, actually. Dennis Cooper and Zach Farley, friends who've been working on these films together.
All right.
Very powerful movie. What Men Want, Taraji P. Henson
Wasn't this
and
in
Tracy
theaters
Morgan.
like 18 seconds ago?
18 seconds. And what's funny, so I know people are thinking, oh, is it a remake or some sort of a take on What Women Want, the 2000 Mel Gibson film? And it is a reference to the same writers and all kind of stuff. I don't know. This movie just came and went extremely quickly. Now, Tina Gordon, she has a little movie in theaters called Little that was just out a while ago. So she's having a little moment. Tina wrote Drumline way back 18, 19 years ago or something like that. One of my favorite movies. That's her, but this movie just sort of came in. Anyway, it's about a sports reporter, a woman who's not doing well with all her sort of male competition until she gets the ability to hear what men are thinking.
Bum.
And anyway, Tracy Morgan's in it. He's funny no matter what he's doing, so I'm not gonna. I love me some Tracy.
Every time Tracy shows up on Jimmy Fallon, I can't because they're such good friends to begin with. But it always slays me because Jimmy loves it. You can tell that Jimmy can't stop laughing at Tracy.
Yeah.
You can tell that even when the camera's off, Jimmy just sits around and laughs at Tracy.
You know that those guys were a lot of fun in the writing room
so much fun.
At SNL.
Oh, yeah.
Blaze is the film that Ethan Hawke made about
love this movie.
About Blaze Foley, the sort of itinerant Texas singer-songwriter guy.
Folk singer.
Died in 1989. Had a hell of a life, that guy, including polio when he was a little boy. So one of his legs was shorter than the other leg.
Yeah.
And he sort of drug his foot when he walked, and they called him Deputy Dog. He was just one. He was one of the original outlaw. Willie Nelson, Merle Haggard, those guys who sang those songs, wrote and sang those songs. Interesting stuff. And
there's a real Bound for Glory quality to this movie that I like, and I'm so sorry that this didn't make it into the awards season conversation. I thought it would. Ethan Hawke directs this with so much love and passion, and it's got such good performances in it. And especially I forget the name of the actor who plays Townes Van Zandt, but does a great job. I mean, it's uncanny how much he is like Townes.
There's another guy from that era. Of songwriters.
It's a really, it has that Bound for Glory feel where these are people who are living a rough life and just kind of going from performance to performance and kind of flirting with fame for a minute or two, but it doesn't fit them right. Doesn't fit them right.
These are the guys who inspire the guys that actually get the fame and fortune.
There you go.
It's a lovely movie, written and directed. Written by Ethan and Blaze's widow, Sybil Rosen.
That's right. Who wrote the book that it was based on.
Yeah. So anyway, a special features audio commentary from Ethan and a behind-the-scenes featurette. Lovely stuff.
Great film. Terrific.
What are we going to do? TV?
Let me make mention real quickly of something else that's new. This came out in 2016. Troma. We don't talk about a lot of Troma films a lot here, but they do drift in occasionally.
40 years.
40 years.
40 years they've been making those terrible movies.
40 years, my goodness. Lloyd Kaufman, what an empire he's built. Anyway, Troma is a lot of people start their careers at Troma. They don't brag about it like the people who started with Corman, but it happens. And this is written and produced by Tamsin Howland and Sam Mason Bell, and directed by Sam Mason Bell. Those are the two people who really are responsible for this. I want to emphasize that this Lloyd Kaufman, got behind them, but it is Tamsin Howland and Sam Mason Bell who are responsible for this. This is not a normal Troma film. This is really kind of edgy and very unusual for Troma. It's not kind of winking at you with, Toxic Avenger and saying, isn't this funny and ridiculous, Sergeant Kabuki Man and all the various other nonsense. This gets into the really ugly side of sex work and humiliation and voyeurism and all of that stuff. It's really pretty edgy and kind of self-reflexively shocking in a certain way. It's about some people about documentary filmmakers who hire a prostitute to sort of give them an inside look at what it is that sex workers do. And the experiment of this documentary becomes it runs out of control a little bit. I'm not going to compare it quite so much to Man Bites Dog, but it does have overtones of that. It doesn't go to the same direction. It doesn't go as far, as fast, or take the risks that takes. But it's kind of in the same general ballpark, and it's worth mentioning them in the same breath, if not comparing them. This includes a Lloyd Kaufman introduction, a commentary, and a bunch of featurette stuff, including all kinds of plugs for other Troma stuff. But otherwise, an interesting departure from the usual Troma fare, Industrial Animals.
Great stuff. A little TV?
Yeah, let's do the TV.
Moses the Lawgiver. This Burt Lancaster in this series, and I remember
it too.
It was really this particular series. Let's see exactly when this thing ran.
It had to be late 80s, early 90s. Right about 1990.
1974.
Oh, gee whiz.
That early.
See, that's where my memory is.
I tell you. Anyway, I just remember this being a very gritty...
This was 70s?
1974, yeah.
I must not have seen it originally then. I must have seen it on a rerun or something. That's interesting.
I think I saw it originally, yeah. Ennio Morricone did that wonderful score for it. I remember all of that. And interesting thing, Burt Lancaster's late son, Bill...
I'm confusing it with the other 10. There's another 10 Commandments thing.
From the 10, 80s. Yeah, from the 80s.
I'm thinking of something else. But
as opposed to Moses the Lawgiver.
Yeah.
His son Bill played the young Moses in the series, and I just remember him being so wonderful. I hadn't thought about Bill Lancaster because he was a writer, Bill Lancaster.
Yeah.
Screenplays and whatnot. I think he wrote.
I'm thinking of the Moses. I'm thinking of the Moses miniseries from 1995.
Who was that?
Who
put the lead in that?
That's what I'm thinking of. That was
that was a really good one too.
Yeah, that was Ben Kingsley.
Ben Kingsley
played Moses.
That's and it's so funny about both those, because I do not think of either one of those.
Yeah.
And that one as faith-based.
No,
cinema.
Not at all.
So now, because now we have all this faith-based stuff.
Yeah.
How is it that these films were 100% biblical, historical biblical films? This one followed obviously all the stories of Moses in the Bible. How is it that we don't call these faith-based, but we do now?
I think so. This is where it is. So-called faith-based movies tend to be movies that are made specifically for the purpose of affirming faith concepts, not telling a story, not necessarily recounting a biblical story or whatever, but specifically, even though some of them do that, like that Ruth, there was a movie about the book of Ruth some years ago because of the people who made them. But generally, those are movies about that all follow the same formula, which is meet this musician or athlete or business person or somebody who's drinking too much, sleeping around, doing something wrong, hates their lives. Meet somebody that says, "Why don't you come to my Bible study group or come to church or my whatever?" They go there. They are challenged to do something. They find faith. They find God, and their lives turn around. That trajectory is common to almost every single solitary one of these films. Even the recent Unplanned, which is rated R, and it's based on the story of a Planned Parenthood clinic director who had turned full anti-abortion, but that's the same trajectory. She's running the clinic. Somebody says, "Why don't you come to church? Why don't you, how do you don't you feel guilty about what you're doing?" And eventually she does, and then she quits and she becomes an activist on the other side. It's the same trajectory. Every single one of those films is that trajectory. To me, that is faith-based. They all follow that formula, and they all get marketed by the same companies to the same audiences.
As opposed to simply telling Bible stories.
Correct.
Because, films have been telling Bible stories for forever.
Cecil B. DeMille filled them with, sex and made them commercial.
Yeah, interesting. Very interesting way to frame these
Moses.
things. I've always thought of every single Tyler Perry, Medea film as a faith-based film.
They are, for the most part.
Every single one of those films is about coming to Jesus at the end of the movie. No matter what the hell happened, you can come to Jesus, you'll be okay. Anyway, I remember loving this movie, Moses the Lawgiver. He was just so wonderful in this. And Bill, that's what I was talking about. Bill Lancaster, who was a writer. I think he wrote The Thing, if I'm not mistaken. He plays young Moses in this. He was just really wonderful. Died very young, Bill Lancaster, about 20 years ago. I met him once or twice. That's why I found it that interesting. George Carlin, 40 years of comedy, hosted by a very young Jon Stewart. So this is a broadcast from the Wheeler Theater in Aspen, Colorado. It was the 10th HBO special for George Carlin. In addition to that particular performance at the Wheeler, this is jam-packed with all sorts of clips and snippets of George Carlin over the course of his long career, 40 years of comedy up to this day, including, and it also includes these wonderful little interviews that Jon Stewart does with George Carlin. Carlin was a hero of his. And it's just neat to watch Jon Stewart as this young comedian well before that television show, talking with George Carlin about what it means to be a comedian. A couple of the new pieces that he premiered at that time for this concert included Advertising Pets and American BS. That's not what he calls it. But those are two of the funniest bits you have ever seen. Great stuff. George Carlin, 40 years of comedy, hosted by Jon Stewart.
I was just listening to him on the radio the other day. There are comedy channels on Sirius XM, and one of them he was going. You forget how brilliant he could be when he was much younger. He was going through. It was this wacky news reportage.
Oh yeah,
right. Where he's doing like 17 different voices, and we're now going to go to the hippy dippy weatherman. Hey man, and he's doing all those different voices.
That early career stuff he used to do. Yeah,
it's
like Phil Henry or something like that.
It's amazing. It really is. It's so skillful. I got some stuff from Acorn TV here. The first one is the complete collection of Wire in the Blood with Robson Green. Really, this is a profiling series. This is a one of the better British mystery shows because it really has some really great episodes to it. But it's for the most part, what you've got is Robson Green, who's an amazing performer, amazing actor. I don't know why he doesn't show up in more movies or anything, but he's a TV guy there, I guess, and he's comfortable with it. But nonetheless, he tracks down serial killers because he profiles them and he thinks like them. And I can't imagine that there are as many horrible people in England as he finds in this show. But nonetheless, it's a really, really great show. Incredibly well written. Superb supporting cast. Emma Handy is fantastic. Felix Scott is great. I mean, there's some really, really good. It's just a great cast, great script. Really one of the best crime series they've had in the UK in a very long time. Wire in the Blood. Complete collection from Acorn TV. Gonna love you some Robson Green. And then a new show from Acorn TV. This is Finding Joy, completely created, written, and conceived by Amy Huberman, who I guess is somebody I should know. But anyway, this is an Irish show. That kind of it's about a woman whose life takes a big turn. She's not in a great place, and it takes a turn when she's promoted to replace the vlogger at the network where she works, and suddenly she goes from to basically being the subject of her life is now the thing that she's literally putting on the news, and where she goes and what she does and what happens to her and the people she meets. The whole thing about vlogging, and I don't watch any vlogs. I don't really understand the concept of vlogging, but I get what it is. And this is trying to sort of, in a very intelligent and insightful and often very funny way, get inside that phenomenon. And it stars and is written by Amy Huberman, who created it. And she's great, but not a lot of Irish TV these days. And I thought this was perfectly fine and enjoyable, so I enjoyed that.
This is season 4 of Better Call Saul. People absolutely adore this show. A spinoff of Breaking Bad, of course. Saul being Saul Goodman, the lawyer that Walter White, his unscrupulous lawyer, and it's interesting. I wonder because I've actually never seen an episode of Better Call Saul. I only know Bob Odenkirk's character Saul from Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad, yeah.
So the way this story lays out, before he was Saul Goodman, he was a guy named Jimmy McGill, also a lawyer. And this series, I think, walks us up to the point when he becomes Saul Goodman and opens up that storefront shop there. Well, that's what happens in season 4. In season 4, we see Jimmy McGill apparently become Saul Goodman, and I suppose we're on the road to meeting Walter White and the other series that we're going to know. Anyway, I know that people absolutely adore this series on AMC. This is an uncensored. These are the uncensored episodes of season 4. I suppose that means they cuss or something. I mean, I don't know what that means exactly, but nevertheless, that's what it has as special features. It's uncensored.
One more kind of TV-ish thing, and then I got some foreign stuff, and then we're going to jump into old movies, catalog titles, things of that sort. Dr. Andrew Weil is the star of the Andrew Weil Collection, the Dr. Andrew Weil Collection, which, Andrew Weil is a guy who goes all the way back to kind of the LSD and hippie people in the 60s.
Timothy Leary folks, yeah.
Timothy Leary people. He was part of that whole scene. And then did a fascinating career turn and became like this guru of health. And he's become a guy who's all about changing your diet, changing your lifestyle. And he's written books, and he is quite charismatic with that fluffy white beard and bald head. He gives good talks. So there's all kinds of stuff on here for people who really are into the whole Andrew Weil thing. 2 discs, 4 different episodes. No, 5. There are 5 different episodes here. They're all kind of sort of in the feature length place. Optimum Health and Well for Optimum Health and all general health guide. And then there are some bonus features on here like breathing exercises and all kinds of other diet stuff. Not usually my thing. Took a quick glance at some of this, and it gets a little bit nuggety and granola-y for my taste. But I live near Topanga Canyon. I know people who are very much into the whole holistic thing, and I respect it. It's a lifestyle choice, and he is certainly the guru of that. So for those who might find a value in this, that is the Dr. Andrew Weil Collection from Kino Lorber. And then 3 foreign things here I want to make quick mention of. From the Blackout Collection, BLAQ, the films of Luc Moulet. 2 films, The Man of the Badlands by Gerard Courant, and The Sieges of the Alcazar. This is from Facets. Facets, of course, goes and digs stuff up out of the crevices that other people sometimes miss, and there are a lot of films you're only going to ever find from the Facets library. For those who don't know, Luc Moulet was one of the original French New Wave figures. Did not become as famous as many of the others internationally, but he was at Cahiers du Cinéma, and he was with all of the rest of these. And he made some very interesting kind of films that probably could have been in the same vein with the work of Godard. certainly as stylistically and aggressive, just as he took the same chances that Godard took, that René took. He took a lot of the same kind of outside the box, form shattering risks, but for whatever reason, he just didn't catch on quite like the rest of them. And Agnes Varda, there's another one that recently passed.
Oh yeah.
And she did the same thing too. So in any case, The Sieges of the Alcazar is this really, really fun comedy that is kind of self-reflexive in the sense that it's about a guy who is a Cahiers du Cinema film critic who has this particular obsession on Michelangelo Antonioni. And it winds up becoming sort of a meditation on relationship when he meets this woman who has they have things in common, but there are other things that they don't have in common. And if you know some of the publications involved, not just Cahiers du Cinéma, but Positif and all of these very kind of navel-gazing, pretentious French cinephiliac magazines, this is really quite a fun kind of look at that whole world. It's quite smart. And then The Man of the Badlands is a documentary by Gerard Courant that is about Luc Moulet and the way he made his films, what the films represented in his life, how he sort of delved into his own experience and put that on the screen. It's got some beautiful photography in it. So, both of these are worth checking out. That's from Facets, from the Blackout collection, the films of Luc Moulet, The Sieges of Alcazar, and the documentary by Gerard Courant, The Man of the Badlands. And then the last two here, we have Fantomas, 3-film collection with Jean Marais and Louis de Funès and Mylène de Mongeau. Fantomas, of course, is a franchise that goes all the way back into the silent era with Louis Feuillade, who made the original Fantomas in 1913, which was sort of one of the first serialized stories. And this is Fantomas reinvented in the 1960s. And Jean Marais was the star of these, along with Louis de Funès and Mylène de Mongeau. And there are 3 of them here: Fantomas versus Scotland Yard, Fantomas Unleashed, and then, of course, from 1964, the one that restarted it all, the original Fantomas. Tim Lucas, film historian, does commentary on that original Fantomas from 1964. The other 2 were made in 1965 and 67. And it goes into great detail as to how this franchise changed, obviously, between the silent and this one. And I think it's worth exploring whether or not you could reinvent this. Fantomas, the character, is kind of this diabolical mastermind, master of disguise, and many other things. And I think you could probably reinvent Fantomas for now. If not, you could even do it as a comedy like they did with OSS 117.
Yeah.
So there are beautiful photography for these films. They're all shot in widescreen and really beautiful stuff. And anyway, that is Fantomas 3-film collection, 3 that were made in the 1960s, Fantomas from 1964, and then Fantomas Unleashed and Fantomas versus Scotland Yard. And then lastly, on the foreign front is a German film called Hagazusa, a Gothic folk tale. This is from Doppelganger Releasing. Can't say that I really find this fun to watch. This did a few underground film festivals. Takes place in 15th century Austria, and if you know anything about that part of Europe, nothing good was happening in Austria in the 15th century. Absolutely nothing. It was all occultism and witches and persecution and poverty and just absolute horror. It was an awful, miserable time to live, especially in the Austrian Alps. So this is all about a woman, a goat herder, who in her remote little village discovers that there is something evil in the hills, something nasty in the woodshed, and it just goes south from there. The movie The Witch is a little bit in the same kind of similar vein, but my goodness. And then on top of everything else, they had to go and hire some of these German industrial musicians to do the score. So it's you wind up having this like
banging, clashing.
Oh, it's just this whole thing makes your skin crawl. It's well done. It's well done, but my goodness, Hagazusa. Like you couldn't have just given it a name that was less intimidating. Hagazusa.
I got technically a couple of old movies here.
Yeah.
And I just hate saying that because I saw both of these movies when they came out in theaters.
I know.
A couple of Ridley Scott films. Alien, 40th anniversary.
Yeah.
1979, year I graduated from high school.
4K, baby.
4K and Blu-ray. All the same special features that have been on all of the releases of this movie since it's been coming out. As it happens, I happened to listen to the watch the movie and listen to the audio commentary track with Ridley just the other day. Yeah. As I'm working on a little script, it's in a contained space. And I thought to myself, it's a good movie. Contained.
Fantastic commentary.
The wonderful Yaphet Kotto, and it really is a fantastic commentary. And it's really, really a very insightful commentary that Ridley was doing. Anyway, it's the 40th anniversary of the Alien films. We were talking about that a minute ago. All these films, how they sort of flow to one another. Technically speaking, would this be in the canon? Because we were talking about the Marvel, the MC, because that's 40 years if we're counting this.
Sure. Speaking of, I do love the fact that there's an alien reference in in Avengers: Infinity War. That whole bit was like where Robert Downey Jr. goes, "Yeah, but the kid's seen more movies." Yeah. Bam! Please don't put your eggs in me. Please don't put your eggs in me.
That's just so funny.
It's good stuff.
This movie holds up. That's what having just watched it the other day. Let me say that about it. It holds up. It holds up in every possible way. The screenplay holds up. The performances are fantastic. But interestingly, the production design holds up.
I was just going to say Sid Mead.
All of it.
Yeah.
And so this is going to be one of those movies that will never age out.
True.
What's funny is that the second movie, Aliens.
Yeah.
Cameron.
Yeah.
You think? Isn't that strange? They're different movies. First of all, they're not even the same genre.
Not even, one's an action film, one's gothic horror.
Gothic horror movie. So they're not the same genre. But in terms of, if we talk about sequels, 1 and 2.
Yeah.
If you're gonna make me watch that second movie, is just so engaging.
Yeah.
And it's so much more action oriented. But this is this is like watching a thriller.
It's an art film too. Ridley was in a different place then. It was, he was trying to create a body of work, which I think after Blade Runner, he just decided, screw it, I'm just going to take some gigs and make some money.
Yeah. You could build that company, man.
Yeah.
Another film from Ridley is Hannibal, which came out in 2001, which was 10 years after The Silence of the Lambs, 1991. They had to swap out Jodie. Jodie didn't want to come back, so they swapped Jodie out for Julianne Moore. Anthony Hopkins returns. This movie did not work nearly as... I read both of those books way back in the day.
It's too gory.
Just the thing with the brain at the end of the movie.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Special features audio commentary, again, by Ridley Scott, and all kinds of other business on this movie, if you happen to be into it. 131 minutes this movie was.
I know. It's too damn long.
It's
too much. Got 3 here from Severin, 3 culty things. We talked about there were all the original Emanuelle movies were released a few weeks ago, the actual proper Emanuelle movies. But as we pointed out, Emanuelle, you can't copyright because all you need to do is just change how many M's or N's or L's there are, or take the E off the end or whatever. You just spell Emanuelle. You can spell Emanuelle at least 9 different ways.
None of them wrong.
None of them are wrong. And if you spell it slightly differently, you're good to go. You can make your own Emanuelle movie. So you could even start with an I, make it about a guy. Anyway, this is Emanuelle, 1 M, 1 N, and 2 L's. And Francoise. Who else would have done Joe D'Amato? That's right. In 1975, Joe D'Amato said, "You know what? I don't need Sylvia Kristel and I don't need Laura Gemser. I can do this just with the name of it alone." So she made this really nasty movie. There's just too much S&M and gore and nastiness in this for it to work in the way that the Emanuelle films are softcore.
They were softcore. They were sweet.
Yeah, but Joe D'Amato can't do that. No. So you at a certain point, you're watching this as an Emanuelle movie, and then you're going, this isn't really very sexy, and then the cleavers come out, and then people are eating people, and you go, why is there cannibalism in an Emanuelle movie? And then you realize, oh, it's Joe D'Amato.
Yeah,
that's what it is. Two others from Severin. One is called Death Warmed Up, which was made in 1984. This is kind of late for this particular kind of film, but it's it's okay. It's a New Zealand hack and slash kind of gore movie. Kind of in the same vein that people like Peter Jackson were making before they went legit, or Sam Raimi over here before he went legit. All those horror guys eventually went legit. This is made by this guy David Blythe, and I don't really know his work. Apparently, he's some kind of a horror maven over there, and just never made it out. Anyway, there's an interview on here with him and one of the actors in here. And some other, there's an audio commentary between the two of them as well. It's not a fun film, but for people who like this stuff, Death Warmed Up, if you just want to see a lot of needless gore, you're into it. And the last one here from Severin, Escape from Women's Prison, which I love. This is also from 1984. Any women in prison movies are great. I just want to say that get that right out of the way. I don't care if they're bad. I don't care if they're good. I don't care if they're horrible. Just the concept alone makes the whole genre worth watching, because at the least they're going to be hysterical and well worth watching. This includes the Italian cut known as Le Evas on it, which has Italian audio and English subtitles, and that's just as good as well. I'll take it either way. This was produced by Dick Randall, who did a lot of these kinds of films, and it's obviously not like the Jonathan Demme women in prison films that he made for Roger Corman back in the 70s. But you know what? It's still Escape from a Women's Prison. Give me a break. It's women escaping from prison. If you like the genre, you're going to love it.
Yeah, can't go wrong. Can't go wrong. Got a couple of old horrors here. Tarantella. This movie here.
Yeah.
About the giant spiders. Everybody's seen it. Everybody's seen clips from this with the giant spider. This is some of the best special effects.
That year was what year was that?
I think it's 1955 or so. About
55. Yeah, 55.
Some of the
Jack
best
Arnold.
Specials, you've just ever seen in the movie. Very effective. And what's interesting about that movie, so this is the thing. People forget what this movie is about. This is a scientist. The scientist wants to feed the world by making plants and animals, cows and whatnot, bigger, right?
Yeah.
So he creates this formula. Unfortunately, it works best on insects. And
that's great.
I'm sorry, that is a perfectly plausible.
I've seen this. This has Clint Eastwood, like a really young Clint Eastwood in it for about 16 seconds.
Super duper young Clint Eastwood. Yep.
That is, he's flying a plane.
Yeah.
He's they're gonna go blow up the giant spider. I've seen this for like over 30 years.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Leo Carroll and John Agar.
Oh, that's great.
And that neat movie, The Brain, which is kind of a neat movie. What I like about this movie is the beautiful and I always thought she should have been a bigger movie star. Cynthia Preston is in it. So basically, this is a movie about this guy who runs his television program. It's kind of like a Scientology sort of television program. And what's happening is there's this alien brain who is helping him brainwash people and take over the world. Like a high school student figures it all out.
Love it when that happens.
And has to stop it. 1988, The Brain. Special features. This is the new 2K scan, but audio commentary from director Ed Hunt, new commentary from Thomas Brashan and a few other people, and Cynthia Preston again, who I was smitten by back in the day. The Brain.
Fantastic. A couple from Warner Archive, the Warner Archive collection. The first one is DVD-R, MOD, Manufacture on Demand. This is an old Wallace Beery movie called from MGM originally, now in the Warner Library, called The Mighty McGurk. Also with an incredibly young Dean Stockwell, Edward Arnold, and Aline McMahon. This is one of those. This kind of goes in the same vein with The Champ a little bit. It's the heartwarming old guy movie and the kid and all of that stuff. Wallace Beery basically plays an old former heavyweight champion at this point, and he becomes he becomes kind of what would you call him? Not a bouncer, but he's like, he's like the guy for the saloon keepers always had somebody who was the, kind of keep order, right? Kind of the bouncer, the old West equivalent of a bouncer. So anyway, he's a boxer who winds up becoming that guy, and somewhere along the line, this orphaned kid played by Dean Stockwell kind of becomes the heartwarming, the element that softens his big old stupid heart. Anyway, and then of course by that time, you get to a point where the people are going to separate them, and they can't be separated, and you get the whole melodramatic thing. What is it? What makes life worthwhile? That's the question. What I most loved about this was the director is named John Waters. And it ain't that John Waters,
no.
Which is kind of fun. But Wallace Beery and the Mighty McGurk, just a little movie that kind of probably didn't get a whole lot of play in the late 40s, but it really is a nice rediscovery. Now, here's the one I wanted to really talk about. Warner Archive Collection on Blu-ray, originally an Allied Artists release. Frankenstein 1970 with Boris Karloff. But here's what's cool. And this was made in 1958. Don't think it was made in 1970. There's a whole thing to that. But what there is Boris Karloff playing Victor Frankenstein now instead of the monster. That's the switcheroo. So they went and they got him to come back to play the doctor. And it's a funny self-reflexive thing, because the whole idea is that he's going to let a TV crew shoot a horror movie in the Frankenstein family castle, and then obviously it takes a really nasty turn at that point, because Dr. Frankenstein has other plans. So yeah, it's kind of an interesting twist on the Frankenstein genre, done in the style of what was being done in the late 50s. It sort of borrows from the Universal 30s sensibilities, transfers it to the late 1950s, and does it by importing Boris Karloff to, bring a little bit of what he brought to the original. It is really an interesting novelty in the genre.
Groovy Grooves. Death is a Number is an interesting British horror film, only about 50 minutes long, this movie, that has gone overlooked for quite a long time. I think it works quite well. It has to do with the idea that a family has been suffering through a long curse put upon them by Romany, or gypsies, some people call them, many, many years ago, and that the culmination of that curse is the last member of the family being killed in this racing accident.
Right.
And basically what you really have is just this guy sitting in a chair relating this story, telling this story to a friend of his, with some cutaways and flashbacks. This whole movie is almost completely put together in post-production. The only original stuff is really the interview, not the interview, but the scenes with this guy sitting in this room in this sort of mansion telling these stories. The rest of it is culled together from all sorts of footage from all sorts of other places to tell this to relate the narrative that this guy is telling, including some of the race car driving footage. So it's this movie that's almost built completely from post production. Kind of creepy, actually. This movie, Death is a Number, from Juno. I wish that they would have put some special features on this, sort of relating just the nature of these things. But anyway, written by Charles Shaw. Neat movie.
Got 4 from Twilight Time here. This is one of the strongest months of Twilight Time releases we've had in a long time. I got to be honest. These are all 4 really, really superb, and I recommend all of them. Top notch. Janine Basinger, film historian, does a superb commentary on Three Coins in the Fountain, the Jean Negulescu film from 1954, which is right in the pocket of that the great 1950s melodramas. There were a lot of films being made right around that time. The Douglas Sirk films, they all kind of had the same sensibilities. And Three Coins in the Fountain it was 20th Century Fox made a lot of those at the time, and this is from their library. Beautiful CinemaScope backdrop. Basically three women in a moment when, women were beginning to finally find their own. The early seeds of feminism are sort of being planted at that time. Household appliances in the wake of World War II. You have washing machines and vacuum cleaners, and women are feeling empowered by the fact that they can go out and do things. And this all takes place in Rome, and Rome in the 1950s is as beautiful as you've ever seen it. It's now rebuilt after World War II and no longer has the vestiges of fascism, and you can you can, make it look like a dream come true, and that's where you get into La Dolce Vita and all this kind of stuff. And that's exactly what this is. The brilliant Milton Krasner, one of the best cinematographers in CinemaScope color ever, just does a fantastic job here. And of course, everybody who, even if you don't know the movie, you know the song, the Frank Sinatra song, which won an Oscar. So it's 3 coins in the fountain with a wonderful audio commentary, beautiful cinematography, really, and a superb isolated music track. That gets us off really well in this month's Twilight Time releases. And then we get to Stagecoach. No, not the original John Ford film from 1939. This is 1966 Stagecoach, which is quite good. It's a remake of the 1939, but it's done in that super cool 1966 full color style. So it's widescreen, and it's a different cast. Anne Margaret, Michael Connors, Bing Crosby, Van Heflin, Slim Pickens, Keenan Wynn, Stephanie Powers, Red Buttons. That is a huge, awesome all-star cast. And is it as good as the original John Ford film? Probably not in just basic filmmaking terms or in thematic terms, but it's splashier and it's sort of more enjoyable in just a general kind of movie spectacle way is maybe the best way to put it. It's directed by Gordon Douglas, who did a lot of kind of workmanlike work at the time, and it's the all-color remake of Stagecoach, and it's really quite a lot of fun, especially if you've seen the original. And my favorite character in this is Red Buttons. I think it's one of the best things Red Buttons ever did, but it just didn't get a lot of attention. Also, Melvin and Howard with Paul Lamont, Jason Robards, and Mary Steenburgen.
Wow.
I can't believe this is as old as it is. This was in 1980. This was that amazing year of The Elephant Man and Raging Bull and Ordinary People, and
all that stuff. Yeah.
Oh, what a great year that was. Jonathan Demme really, really carved it up and kind of put himself on the map with Melvin and Howard, which is, of course, the amazing Bo Goldman screenplay about the extraordinarily weird story of a guy played by Paul Lamont who picks up this old dude and gives him a ride, played by Jason Robards, and then years later finds out that he'd picked up Howard Hughes, and Howard Hughes had left him a fortune in his will, and all of the details of this. I remember when all that stuff transpired. And what an amazing story! What a great screenplay, great cast, fantastic direction from Jonathan Demme. Really one of the classics of that period of the 70s and 80s. Just a wonderful movie. Melvin and Howard from Twilight Time on Blu-ray. Wonderful get for them. And then I think the one that is the crown jewel of this month's Twilight Time titles is The Snake Pit. What a fabulous get! One of the best films that 20th Century Fox ever made. Olivia de Havilland at her level best. I mean, absolutely her very, very best as a woman in an asylum. And this is adapted from the book The Snake Pit, which was originally published in just some years prior to this. The movie was made in 1948. And Mary Jane Ward wrote the book, and the movie is directed by Anatole Litvak. And really maybe the best depiction of what it's like to be trapped in an institution ever. And, this woman she has a breakdown. She goes to this institution, and it turns out to be an absolute hellhole. It's just horrific. And it's still very timely. It's done in the style of a noir. But my goodness, what a powerful, powerful, beautiful film. One of the best films of the late 40s. One of the best films of 20th Century Fox's filmography ever.
Fantastic. Over there. A couple over here. Penny Points to Heaven from 1951. This is a funny movie about these guys who went at the tracks and decide to go to the seaside to a place where they usually go to hang out as poor guys, but this time they're rich. and there are all these women and investment bankers and all kinds of people basically trying to get their money off them. Interesting thing about this film, Peter Sellers, the great Peter Sellers' first film.
Wow.
Debut film. This is Peter Sellers' debut film, 1951. This also includes a film called Let's Go Crazy, which also stars Peter Sellers. Yep. It was his second film. So if you want to see Peter Sellers' first and second films, check this out, directed by Tony Young. I was looking. It's funny. I know this film, Torment. But I know this film as a film called Paper Gallows.
Oh,
from 1950. That's the way I've always seen it billed because I was looking for it. I know this film is a film called Paper Gallows. It's a very good film, British a British thriller about these two brothers who are mystery murder writers. Mm-hmm. They're both a little bit wacky. One of them, a bit more so than the other. They have a secretary that they're both in love with. The secretary falls in love with the less insane brother.
The less insane.
Yeah, the more insane brother doesn't take well to this, so he commits a murder. Now, he really commits this murder just because he wants to see what it feels like so he can write better about it. But he decides to pin the murder on the secretary because she's in love with the other brother. I mean, isn't that just a tight, beautiful black and white noir? Look at that photography.
Oh, that's great.
That's just gorgeous, gorgeous stuff. Directed by the late great John Gillerman. Oh, one of the classic guys from back in the day. You got a couple over there?
Yeah, I got a couple from Arrow. Arrow sent us some good ones this month. One foreign, one not foreign. The Grand Duel with Lee Van Cleef. One of the classic spaghetti westerns of the era. This was originally made in 1972, so it's right there, right in the pocket with all the Eastwood stuff and the Sergio Leone stuff. Basically, this is a revenge tale, as so many of them are. But Lee Van Cleef and director Giancarlo Santi, who had previously been an assistant to Sergio Leone on The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly and some of his other films, they give it kind of an extra layer. You know, Lee Van Cleef isn't just a bad dude. He isn't just that callous, coarse guy. There's something under the surface that's really interesting and keeps you going through much of this. Also, the nice thing is this doesn't have a Sergio Leone score. Now, you might think, well, but is that a good thing? Well, yeah, because so many of these movies do that it's nice to hear a slightly different score for a change, sensibilities of a different composer.
Ennio
Morricone.
Morricone.
Yeah, Morricone did not do this.
No, you said Sergio Leone, but it's not
sorry.
Morricone.
No, sorry. Yes,
Sergio.
I fumbled. Yes.
Morricone.
So correct. Morricone did not do the score, and the score here was Luis Bacalov, who of course had done Django.
Lots of those. Yeah,
he had done other ones. So it's somebody who has done those before, and you have a slightly different feel. So, but yeah, it's a really, really sharp film. Wonderful performance, beautifully transferred from Arrow Video. And then the other Arrow box set here this is tremendous. This is Khrustalyov, My Car, a film by Alexei German. Now, Alexei German, this is a box set that includes the film and then a souvenir booklet. Alexei German is one of the great Russian directors of recent years, has not really gotten all of the attention that he deserves. This is from 1998. The film was made in 1998, screened at the Cannes Film Festival in 98. But German, for whatever reason, has not caught on tremendously outside of Europe and Russia. I'm not quite sure why, because his films are devastatingly powerful, but they're also really, really dark. And for whatever reason, they just have a really hard time getting theatrically released in the United States. People are afraid to take their chances with them. Even when they're a little bit funny and satirical and ironic, then they're kind of still considered dangerous and unmarketable for some dumb reason. Word had it that Martin Scorsese really wanted to give this the Palme d'Or that year and was not able to work the politics of the jury to do that. I don't know how that's possible, but in any case, this is a wonderful restoration of this film, which all takes place in 1953. And Stalin is still in charge of Russia and the Soviet Union, and is targeted by a plot of of doctors. And this is an interesting. It deals with anti-Semitism and a lot of other interesting things, and specifically the politics of Russia at the time. And it really is. It's dark and absurdist, and when you laugh, you find yourself feeling guilty that you're laughing because you're laughing at some pretty nightmarish stuff. Great commentary on here by Daniel Bird, who is a film researcher and programmer, and then a video essay called Between Realism and Nightmare, which is all about this film and Alexei German's other films, and a whole bunch of other really interesting things. It's worth checking out. If you don't know the films of German, you really should check out Khrustalyov, My Car. That's Khrustalyov, My Car, KH, if you're going to do an online search for this thing. A
couple more?
Yeah.
Faramnelli. This is about a 1994 1994 film.
Yeah, this came out when we were at Entertainment Today.
Yeah, Entertainment Today, about a young castrated man.
Which was a thing then.
A thing at the time, so they would maintain those voices.
Yeah.
And he was famous.
Oscar nominated.
Oscar nominated. It was a big, and now he was managed by his brother. Bonus features include a making of featurette. This was a very, very good film.
Very good,
as I recall.
Yeah,
from back in the day. So check it out. Not much on this. I wish there were more other than those bonus features.
Part of Film Movement Classics line on Blu-ray. Yeah.
Emanuelle.
And well, go ahead, do that one, and then I'll wrap this out with Criterion.
The Blake Edwards Pink Panther cartoon collection, Volume 5, 1976 to 1978. I have never been able to make the connection between the cartoons, Pink Panthers, and the Spectre Clouseau, Peter Sellers, also Blake Edwards.
Yeah.
What other than the Pink Panther shows up, and he's I know he's a mystery guy. but really, these things have never gone together.
No, I know they don't. It's not like Star Trek, the TV series and the animated series, where it's it's like in the one there's Inspector Clouseau and a diamond known as the Pink Panther, and then we have cartoons with a literal Pink Panther,
an actual Pink Panther, and he's not even a thief. So anyway. Interesting.
We're going to wrap out with Criterion. 4 absolutely sensational Criterion releases that it goes without saying, one of which is life-changing to me. Life-changing. But I'm going to start with the one that's not life-changing, which is William Wyler's The Heiress, with Olivia de Havilland, another great Olivia de Havilland performance. That's 2 for us this week. The Heiress is just, 1948, the year after she made The Snake Pit. And it's a sensational film. It's one of the great studio films of its day, and I saw this projected some years ago, and it's just an absolute wonderful movie. There's nothing wrong you can say about it. It's just a beautiful movie.
Montgomery Clift.
It's just so fantastically good.
Amazing.
Tons of extras on here, including their excerpts from a 1973 tribute to William Wyler on the Merv Griffin Show. That is really quite wonderful. And then there's an interview with actor Ralph Richardson that was done in 1981 for the documentary directed by William Wyler. Those are particularly good. And even a nice little featurette here all about Edith Head and her costumes. It's just sensational. It's you just can't go wrong with that. My Brilliant Career is one of the best films by Gillian Armstrong, one of the pioneering female directors of the 70s and then on into the 80s. Has made a lot of films that I just absolutely adore. Really a superb filmmaker. I don't know why she isn't making more films right now. She should be. We need her right now. But this was kind of the career-making performance by Judy Davis as well, playing Sibylla Melvin in this very interesting Australian coming-of-age story that also really kind of took Sam Neill to a whole new level as well. And it's very much about the outback and a hard life in the outback, and I think it's kind of a film that foreshadows in many respects The Piano. Yeah, because it's a similar plot on a certain level, and which Sam Neill was also in, kind of playing a similar part. But regardless, this is just a beautifully photographed, wonderful film from 1979. A lot of great extras in here, including an interview from 1980 with Judy Davis, and an audio commentary originally recorded in 2009 with Gillian Armstrong, and a new interview with Gillian Armstrong to bring it all up to date. Moving close to the one that changes my life is A Face in the Crowd by Elia Kazan, written by Bud Schulberg. This film has been cited, from 1957, has been cited as being prophetic given current political circumstances. Yeah. I don't care where you fall on the political spectrum, it is prophetic. Andy Griffith is a character here who could be not just a facsimile of Donald Trump, but of half a dozen other people who are now part of the political process. He could even be Bernie. Yeah,
Lonesome Rhodes. Yeah, that's his name, right? Lonesome. He's sort of this country guy that has this way of talking. And what does he do? He speaks a certain kind of truth. Yeah. That people cotton to. Yeah. While at the same time being an itinerant liar.
He is an outside-the-box, charismatic figure, almost a religious figure. And what this says is less about political figures than the political process and the electorate, really. A powerful film. Schulberg just killed it with this. Elia Kazan directs the hell out of it. It is just magnificent. It may be Andy Griffith's best performance ever. Yeah. Patricia Neal also just superb. Anthony Franciosa, very, very good. Lots of extras here. interviews, featurettes, excerpts from other things. Really, really just fantastic. Here now, we're going out on the film that changes my life. Well, the edition, the Criterion edition that changes my life. For 20 years, Tim, I have been sick and tired of being unable to get good Jackie Chan Blu-ray transfers here in the United States. I'm tired of it. I got all this stuff originally on DVD because the DVD in Hong Kong. I bought stuff in Hong Kong and then brought it back here because it was all crap here. And then the Blu-rays start coming out, and they're just no good. And I'm especially upset about Police Story 1 and 2. Police Story 1 and 2, I have a box set from Fortune Star that I got out of Hong Kong, and it's nice and it's wonderful, but it's a DVD set. I need Jackie Chan's Police Story 1 and 2 on Blu-ray. Criterion has given them to me.
Finally.
Wow.
And who better?
Who better? Criterion understands that it's time for Jackie Chan to get the Criterion treatment. And boy, is it ever. I think there's a lot more coming with this. Police Story is really the film that put Jackie on the map. He was a star before that. Obviously, there was, the big brawl where they tried to make him the new Bruce Lee. That was an American film directed by Robert Klaus, who had done Enter the Dragon. And then he went back, made some things, Young Master, a few other things in Hong Kong. But the one that put him on the map was Police Story. It was the first official Jackie Chan film. He directed it. He had done a couple of films previously, but it was his style, kung fu comedy and all that gritty stuff. And the stunts where he shows you the outtakes at the end over the credits. And it opened the New York Film Festival. And that was an international celebration. And next thing you know, Jackie is out of film jail as far as American audiences are concerned, and he's a phenomenon again. And Police Story 2, equally good. Police Story 1 has that whole thing at the mall at the end where he slides down with all the lights and gets, fragments of glass in his hands as he's sliding down this pole, several stories of a mall. It's an amazing stunt. Has a stunt in it where, he stops a bus and the two guys go flying out the window of the double-decker bus and they land on the pavement because the bus driver didn't stop on cue and they hit the pavement. I mean, this stuff is rough. Police Story 2 has a multi-person fight in a playground that is a clinic in how you shoot and edit an action scene. Watch it over, watch it over, watch it over, watch it in slow motion. Look where they cut. Look how it's staged. It is a masterpiece. It is an absolute masterpiece. So,
Police Story 2 is 88. It's 30 years ago. What year was that one?
Police Story is 1985. Police Story 2 is 1988.
Yeah.
And, this is the beginning of the Hong Kong New Wave as well. Just superb. No dubbing, no recutting, no American Harvey Weinstein's scissor-handed changes of this stuff. Original Cantonese language, beautifully transferred, spectacular, and with all the great extras, including interviews with, you get Maggie Cheung in the interviews here. Maggie Cheung was just starting her career at this time. Yeah. She plays May in these movies. She's basically there to run around and go, ah, and scream and cry. She's not yet that great actress that we all know that she's going to become, but it's fine. It's great. So anyway, I can't even get into all the extras. It's just so sensational.
My first, because you were earlier to this, the first time I ever saw Jackie Chan was in Cannonball Run.
Yeah. When he was playing Japanese.
When he was playing Japanese. Cannonball Run 2, as a matter of fact. Wasn't even the first Cannonball Run.
Yeah.
But he had been a movie star, or noted, for 20 years before that.
True.
Maybe. Yeah.
True. Wow. Yeah. And so anyway, Police Story 1 and 2 on Criterion is something to so completely, totally celebrate. And boy, am I going to watch this all week long. So we're probably going to have a bye week next week. I am not only on Film Week, but we have family in town. So I don't see how I'm going to have any chance to do anything for the podcast. Might be a chance, but otherwise we will be back in 2 weeks, and we hope you guys have a fantastic time. That's kind of our spring break.
Yeah,
that'll be sort of our spring break.
Call it that.